I'm glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less. And don't let anybody ever rip you off. Our web address is clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. I have talked at length about my frustration, anger, whatever, about the kangaroo court arbitration that banks and other companies impose on us when we do business with them. These are totally fraudulent forums to resolve a dispute that you have with a company you do business with. Employers now using these to take away your rights under federal law if you are mistreated at a place of work, suffer from sexual harassment, discrimination, whatever, that the employer says, hey, you can't do anything about it. We got this arbitration agreement, and it's our fake forum that you're going to get cheated in. They don't say that, but that's what it is. And so one of the things that's happened is I've talked about this over the years is it's made people think that I'm opposed to alternative ways of disputing things, solving disputes, instead of everything going to court. Far from it. I'm a big believer in people settling their differences in what's known as alternative dispute resolution forums. The state of Arizona has done more in this area than any other state, with many things being able to be done, like a simple divorce being done by a couple by itself, with forms you can print out at the courthouse in the biggest counties in Arizona, and you just do your own thing. There are situations where that's not a good idea and you want a lawyer. But I saw a Business Week item about how in Canada and in multiple countries in Europe, there are now online platforms that the courts offer for people who maybe even have already filed a court action against somebody else, but they first do the online platform to see if they can negotiate settlements. Listen to this. In Holland, people now use an online platform to negotiate custody, child support, divorce, and small claims cases. Automatic that's something that in other countries people are using as a way to settle disputes. We in America have this crazy system with people going to court where it's all about win or lose and not really about each party feeling like they got a fair shake. The law is not about fairness. That's not what the law is about. And so the time it takes, the cost involved, we as a country would benefit so much if we followed the lead of these foreign countries and followed the lead of Arizona and looked at various disputes that exist that now are settled either not at all or fought out through the courts, and give people, of course, the access to the court. But that's the last resort, not the first. The first is to come up with a way of trying to work things out. So I got a shocking stat for you. I'd never seen or heard anywhere. So I have to trust Business Week that the stat is right. How many disputes are there each year involving eBay? Would you like to guess? eBay, just one selling platform. Krista, Joel, take a guess. How many disputes are heard by eBay each year in their dispute resolution system?
20,000.
I'd probably guess like 1 million.
How about 60 million each year? That's how many people are able to resolve, buyer and seller, using their automated dispute resolution system where the buyer and seller communicate with each other. I have used it twice, and both times very easily was able to resolve disputes to my satisfaction and the other side. In my case, I was the buyer in both cases and was able to resolve it. not everything has to be complicated. And this is something that the technology exists to make resolving disputes so much simpler and easier than how it is right now. And I know you're probably going to call me or post that you had a dispute with an eBay seller or buyer and it was worthless for you. But the reality is 60 million times it worked. When you have a question for me on the Clark Howard Show, go to clarkhoward.com/ask. Nika, hi, welcome to the Clark Howard Show. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. So let me tell you my story. I had a detective call me the other day, and he told me he was investigating a crime and a forged license was used by the suspect. The license number on the driver's license, he was using my driver's license number.
Okay, you said something fantastic to me. You used the word he. There was a he who was using your driver's license number, not a she.
That's right.
Oh, you were one lucky person. Do you know that?
Am I?
Yes.
Why does that make me lucky?
Well, because think about it. If it was a she and they were using your driver's license number, who is the likely considered suspect as perpetrator of a crime?
I guess it would be me, huh?
That is right. If you're ever going to be impersonated, the absolute best way to be impersonated is when somebody from the opposite sex pretends to be you in some way.
Okay. All I know is that he was using a fake name. We got his address, but I guess that's not important. Anyways, I don't know what to do. I'm a little scared when the detective called me. I did meet with him today, though, and he's going to email me a police report. I have to go up to the DMV, bring that police report with me, and
get a new driver's license number right away.
That's right.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, whoever this detective is a great guy, because so often they don't take the time to tell someone who's been a victim of some form of identity theft that it's happened. And this is an enormous help to you. So having that police report and going to get the new driver's license issued may not end any aggravation for you, but it sure is a big step in the right direction. So what did the criminal do with the forged driver's license?
To my understanding, he was leasing an apartment. The investigator said that they only deal with $100,000 and more for fraud.
You're telling me this guy who was using your driver's license somehow stole $100,000+ and that's why?
From an apartment complex, yes.
Wow. All right. Well, as long as he was not also using your Social Security number, your hassle may be limited.
You're right.
So what I would suggest, though, because there is the possibility that the criminal did more than just use your driver's license number, it would be really good for you to get copies of your credit reports, which are available to you free at annualcreditreport.com.
Okay.
Now, if you see any funny business on your reports, you'll have more work to do. And at that time, call me back and I'll walk you through what you would do about that. But I don't even want to get into, well, you should do this if speculatively there's stuff on there. If your credit reports are clean, if this has really freaked you out, you can do something preventative. It's almost like giving your credit a vaccine. You can freeze each of your credit files. And what that means is that each credit bureau would assign you a secret code that would lock out any identity thief from attempting to open credit as if they're you. And because you'll have the police report in most states, it means that freezing your credit will be free. You got to do things in order. First, get the police report, run to get your new driver's license, get that, then go through the process of, you can go ahead and access your credit reports, but wait till after all that to then freeze your credit if you choose to do so.
Right, so I should check it today, but wait to freeze it until I get the police report. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, good luck to you, and I hope that this tip-off from the police officer, from the police detective, and congratulations to him for being proactive this way, will very severely limit the hassle that you have. And Beth is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Beth. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you.
I called to say that my husband was given the wrong prescription in his bottle of medicine. It said the right medicine on the outside, but he took it for 2 months. It really made him sick. It made him really, really feel bad. It was blood pressure medicine and something else, and so his blood pressure went sky high, and he finally figured it out yesterday by going on the pillidentifier.com or whatever. When we looked at the pill that he was supposed to get, it looked the same as the pill he got.
Oh.
The one he was supposed to get had a number and a letter on one side, and the pill they gave him had a number on one side and a letter on the other.
Okay.
And so they made him, they messed that up.
Just they flat out blew it and put him in danger.
Yeah, and that they don't seem to be sorry, which is what is upsetting me. And the doctor said, too, when they said they had to call the doctor and tell him that they gave the wrong prescription, and the doctor said that they have to do that by law. And so he said that it happens all the time. The wrong prescription gets filled. So I want people to know that. I
don't know how often prescriptions are misfilled. I don't know a stat on that. I know that does happen. The good news is your husband was not killed by this.
Right. Yeah.
What kind of long-term health consequences will your husband suffer other than 2 months of feeling miserable?
Yeah, we don't know. It could be, it could hurt his kidneys. I don't know.
All right. So has he been in for an evaluation with his doctor about this?
No, it was just yesterday that we figured it out.
Okay. I think you've got to find out what the scope of possible harm is to your husband.
Okay.
Because if it turns out, thank goodness, that no lasting damage has occurred to him health-wise, that would be great. And you've given an important warning to people that they should verify that the pills that have been filled are actually the correct pills.
Yes.
And you mentioned that it's very easy on the web now because you can pull up these pictures that'll show you what the med looks like.
Yes, and it's real easy. You can it asks you the shape of it, the numbers or letters that's on it, the color, and it was very, very, I just Googled it, and it was very simple.
Okay, so let's hope it ends there, that all it is you've given a warning. Let's say, though, that your husband has been harmed by this. Do you know what I would recommend to you next?
What?
Well, if your husband has any ongoing medical problems, you've way outkicked anything that you can handle yourself or that I can even advise to you, other than you would want to consider hiring a lawyer who specializes in that area, so that if your husband has ongoing medical expenses, that they are in fact covered by the pharmacy.
Okay.
But let's just hope that when your husband goes on the right prescription now, that there's a speedy recovery and no lingering consequences.
I hope so, too.
But I think a visit to the doctor pronto would be very much in order.
We'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm glad you figured it out. Wow. Today's Clark Rage is really funny, and I am just as guilty as everybody else in this Clark Rageous moment.
Scams, rip-offs, outrages. It's a Clark Rageous moment.
So there's a technology blog has an item about people who signed up for what turned out to be a fake social networking site. They didn't realize they were signing up for a fake social networking site. And they were encouraged to sign up in a pre-launch evaluation. So there were all the terms of service involved with it. And the terms of service for this was actually the key, because people were agreeing in the terms of service to hand over their firstborn child, and that they were agreeing to that if they waited a long time to have kids through the year 2050, as well as have all their personal data and information shared with foreign governments, spy agencies in the United States, and on, according to a review of it by Consumer Reports blog Consumerist. Now, out of the people in the test group, now remember, they thought they were there to evaluate a new social media site, but they were actually just guinea pigs to see if people actually looked at the terms of service for something they signed up for. 2 out of 100 realized they were signing up to give away their firstborn child. Almost no one even looked at the terms of service. That's where I'm guilty. I don't look at terms of service because it goes on and on, all in lawyer speak. And it would have taken 30 minutes to read the terms of service. 30. How many sites have that now? That you have to do all that. So my suggestion is for the industry to adopt a voluntary code to keep government out of this and have a simple box that tells you for the principal privacy rights and privileges you have or don't have, what you are agreeing to give up when you sign up at a website. I think people would look at that. And it would be a libertarian kind of way of the industry coming up with a way to self-police, and it would keep the government out of it. But how Clark-rageous that nobody ever looks and only 2 out of 100 people recognize they'd be saying goodbye forever to their firstborn child. Fortunately, that was just a joke.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports this podcast. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. You see, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. Hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork? Well, with Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. It helps you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/save. That's quickenloans.com/SAVE. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Welcome to the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. Our website is clark.com. When you have a question, clark.com/ask. I have noticed, and I don't have the stats, so it's subjective, not objective, but the number of calls I've had from people who are looking at buying real estate because they think it's going to appreciate significantly has gone up a great deal. And people will usually preface the call with, I'm afraid of the stock market, so I'm planning to invest in real estate. And that's kind of the preamble. Stock market is the traditional investment. Well, that's freaking me out, so I'm going to do the real estate. But the economist Robert Shiller has done an analysis that takes real estate through a 100-year cycle. So not looking short-term, not looking specific snapshots, but taking it decade after decade for a 100-year period to determine what the real increase in value of real estate is over an extreme period of time. And the increase in value for home prices is an average of 0.6% per year. Little more than 0.5% per year when you factor in inflation and other things like that. People think of buying a home as truly an investment, home you're going to live in. But homes actually depreciate. The land the home sits on is what eventually appreciates. But homes depreciate because the home always needs maintenance and repair. And so that's just part of the equation, is that you're going to have a maintenance issue. There's a big rainstorm last week, and suddenly we had at this spot where rain was coming in the house. It wasn't like pouring in, but there were drops coming in. And so then you got to bring people in, you got to repair it and deal with all that. And it's just part of what happens when you own a house. Heating and air conditioning systems break. Appliances break. You know, things wear out. You got to put on a new roof. You got to put on new gutters, whatever. Just part of owning it. So I have told you, if you've been a long-time listener, how I've been a real estate investor for decades. I bought my first foreclosure in 1978. So that means, think about that a lot of people listening right now, you weren't even born in 1978, and that's when I bought my first foreclosure. With real estate, the key is real estate that is actively managed is where people can make money over time. So an old friend of mine who's been a long-time grizzled real estate investor has said it is the get-rich-slow plan, that eventually your tenants pay off your properties for you, pay for the repairs, pay for the taxes. You end up with a place owned free and clear that just prints money. But your own individual house you live in, it is an investment not of a financial kind. It is an investment in permanence for you and your family. If it's a place you live in a long time, it is living with stability in one place, not having to, with apartments, having to pick up and move and all that. But in terms of the actual value of the home increasing, yes, if you live in a home 20 years, you'll say, yeah, I paid this for it, now it's worth that. But the dollar is worth less 20 years from now than it is today because of inflation. All the expenses over the years, the taxes you pay for property taxes, all that has the net effect of giving it the gain about what you'd get from a CD. And I'm not talking about an old music thing. I'm talking about a bank CD or credit union CD. That's why you hear mixed messages from me about real estate, because it truly is a situation that requires real work if you are going to be an investor in real estate, like producer Joel, who owns rental properties, or me owning rental properties. Krista and her husband owned a duplex for a blink that could have been a very profitable thing, but they needed that out of their house, out of their lives. But that's how you make money in real estate. And don't expect that we're going to have a time where you can buy real estate and just sit there and have it go all the way to the sky. Because real estate values are ultimately controlled, by the available land in an area, people's earning power, and the job market in a local area. Tim is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Clark. Thanks for taking my call.
It's my pleasure, Tim. How can I be of service to you?
I have a question. My stepdaughter will be starting college for the first time, and I'm a little bit concerned as far as she's not all that financially savvy, so we're more than likely going to have to take out Parent Plus loans because of the cost of tuition.
How much is tuition going to be where she's going?
About $30,000 a year.
You say that so calmly. That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And
so you can't convince her how great a state school is that would cost like a fourth of that?
That is a state school.
What? Out-of-state state school then, huh? Is that in-state or out-of-state?
In-state.
An in-state school for a state school costing $30,000 a year in tuition?
I'm not sure. My wife says that it covers books and room and board and all that other stuff all together.
Wow. I think you need to dig more into this because that doesn't seem like good math to me. My daughter, who graduated 2 years ago, she was going in-state. Tuition, the whole thing cost me about $12,000 a year. So
But
I think you need to check on that. Now, back to your original question, though, regardless of what it costs, I think that if it is $30,000 a year, borrowing $120,000 for an undergraduate degree is a really bad idea. Because your stepdaughter, you said stepdaughter, right?
Yes.
Your stepdaughter would be faced with a level of debt when she graduates that is backbreaking. Or if you take it on through PLUS loans, you're talking about you taking on a backbreaking debt. I think something's got to give before she enters school as a freshman if it would require borrowing for that whole thing.
Right. So maybe not the full amount borrowing, but the cost of tuition. But my concern is if something happens where my stepdaughter can't pay back her loans or she can't find a job and something happens to my wife, like she's incapacitated or something, because I live in I don't know if it makes a difference.
Community property
state. Would I be responsible then for those loans?
That's a good question. And if I were talking to your wife, I would be just clear as could be that I don't want her borrowing that kind of money for her child's college. But as far as your responsibility, if under the federal student loan program, if a borrower becomes incapacitated, then, let me take the most extreme. If a borrower dies, the loans are forgiven. If a borrower becomes incapacitated, there are also protections under federal law for that. And as for you, you would not have personal financial responsibility even though you are in a community property state.
And that would be for federal loans only, not any other.
And private loans are a completely different story. And private loans, you nearly with certainty would end up being on the hook for those, but not for federal loans. But let's go back 2 steps. Your stepdaughter should do all her initial borrowing under the federal student loan program available to students. That comes first for her to do Stafford's. And then once she's exhausted her Stafford borrowing, that would be when you look at PLUS loans.
Yes.
But borrowing more than here's my general rule. And Tim, I understand that I'm putting you in a very awkward position. Maybe it would be great if you encouraged your wife or stepdaughter to call in and let me talk to them about how much money is reasonable to borrow, rather than put you in what sounds like it's a tough spot for you. But my rule to go by is that you never borrow more for a 4-year degree than that degree is likely to earn you the first year on a job. That you use that as kind of like a break point.
Right.
And so if total borrowing over 4 years was, let's say, $30,000 instead of per year, but for 4 years, for most jobs potentially that a college graduate could get, that would be kind of the ceiling of what would be a reasonable amount to borrow over 4 years. Pat is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Pat.
Hello, Clark. How are you?
Great. Thank you, Pat. You are a very generous soul, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I want to donate my old car to a charity, but I want to donate it to one that really needs it. Probably because I don't want to take the time to have to sell it. But it is still in good condition. It's a 2002 Mazda 626. And I think the blue book value is something like $2,000 some odd dollars.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the craziest answer, okay?
Okay.
So, now there are lots of places that'll just buy your car from you. You just drive it to them. It's drivable, right?
It's drivable, but I don't have a tag on it. I have insurance on it, but not a tag. But
all right. The reason I'm mentioning this is the IRS has had to deal with all these people who've lied about the value of cars they've donated. And so the IRS now limits, if you're planning to also deduct this on your taxes as a charitable donation, unless you can document the value, they're going to limit your deduction to, I think it's $25 now.
Really? Because Kelly, I can document it in Kelly Book.
That's not good enough now.
Kelly Book? Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, I have a briefing at Clark.com explaining what I call the potential tax gotcha. That what's better is you sell your car and then donate the proceeds, because then you're donating cash, and there's no question that you donated $2,000 worth of cash. Where with the donation of the vehicle, the IRS may eat you up.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I asked you first.
Because the alternative, if you think it really is worth a couple of thousand, is there's a procedure where you can have an appraisal done.
Right.
And then you're able to deduct the value of that appraisal. But that's why I want you to go read my briefing at Clark.com. And just the search box, just put in donate your car. And you'll be able to read my briefing about organizations that are legit to donate your car to, and then how to make sure that you get a fair shake from the IRS on deducting it.
Okay, good.
But again, my favorite is you go sell it and donate the cash to the organization you love.
Okay, I was trying to avoid selling it because it's too much work to sell it.
Right, so that's why, but then you got the work of the appraisal. You'll have to decide on that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much, Clark.
All right, thank you, and have a wonderful day. Laverne is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Laverne.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thank you, Laverne. You went to hear a pep rally about getting involved in a multi-level marketing organization.
How about that? I thought it was a great opportunity, but I always respect your opinions, and I just wanted to know, was it something that I should be looking into? This is what they offered. They offered something called the Hub, and in order to get the premium package, to get into this Hub, the sign-up was $99, and then it was $99 a month. They offered some tax applications that you can put on your phone, the tax box. They offered grocery coupons for like 60 to 70% off, vacation clubs. When you go onto these vacations, you can get like between 60 to 80% off of those financial tools that you can use and so on. So at the time, I guess the guys, they were giving very good presentations.
Sure.
But afterwards, I just was thinking, that I don't know, maybe, this might not be a good thing. So let me.
Well, this is Wake Up Now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I talked about Wake Up Now just recently on the show, that it seems to be the hot flavor of the moment in multi-level marketing groups. And I want you to tread slowly and carefully, because I want you to try the products or services first as a customer before you get involved selling, because I can't get my arms around the emphasis being on selling. I have this concern that the emphasis is on recruiting people in to pay the fees as a sales rep, as you were approached about it, and that the things they're trying to get you excited about are just part of the whole pep rally thing.
Right.
So use the products first. The best salespeople are people who have experienced something and believe in it. First, see if you really do. And by the way, before you get involved in something like this, are you a natural-born salesperson? Can you walk up to any stranger and just chat them up?
I can.
Okay. And are you willing to put in 30 to 50 hours a week into something like this?
No.
Okay. If you're not willing to put in the time, just be a customer rather than be a salesperson. Anybody who says you can make a lot of money in your spare time, I don't know where they're coming up with that. It's real time if you plan to make real money.
You know, when you're going to buy a car, pricing information is great and necessary, but there's more to doing it than just the price. There's the actual buying experience. If you want to enjoy a better one, you should go to a True Car certified dealer. They're there to help you find the car that you want, and they're also what make True Car unique. With True Car, you can connect with a local certified dealer that you choose, so you can lock in a guaranteed savings off the MSRP and enjoy a totally better buying experience. And by better, they also mean faster. Over 2 million cars have already been sold to True Car users who have visited their True Car certified dealer. And there are over 11,000 True Car certified dealers nationwide, so it's probably pretty easy to find one near you. And check this, for a new car, average True Car users save $3,279 off MSRP. All right, so you're probably wondering, how do I do this? It's easy. Just go to TrueCar.com or, right there on your phone, download the True Car app. You can find the car you want, see the True Car pricing curve, which shows you what other people in your area paid for the same car, and that way you can know you're getting a good price and feel confident. Then you'll get a guaranteed savings certificate from the True Car certified dealer. Go to the dealer, and your guaranteed savings off MSRP will be honored, and you enjoy a quick, easy experience. How's that for car buying? So when you're ready to buy a new car, or even a used one, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app and enjoy the better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. Our web address, clark.com, CLARK.com. If you have a question for me, go to clark.com/ask. I also want your feedback. I want you to let me know how I can do a better job, ways you feel I've come up short, things you think I've said on the air or given advice to a caller that you're disappointed in, or worse, you think I gave them bad advice, sent them the wrong direction. That's why in our community section at clark.com, we have our message boards, one of which, the most popular, is Clark Stinks, where you can go and share your feedback with me and with your fellow listeners and web surfers about how I can do a better job. Some of the posts are quite pithy, some are quite humorous, some are very angry. Once a week, our executive producer, Krista, goes through your posts on Clark Stinks, and then we share them with you right here on the air.
I should have never encouraged you to speak.
You must think I'm pretty stupid.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you're right, pal.
All right, Krista, what are you teeing up with today?
Well,
oh man, that first post, is that like a short story or a full
you know
book?
what? There are a couple of posts I pulled about what you said about healthcare, and these are just two of many. So I'm just going to go ahead and read them. Clark, in response to a Clark Stinks post, you commented that the American public would never accept a single-payer health system because it would inevitably require rationing of care. The truth is we already have significant rationing of care in the most illogical, haphazard forms possible. Each insurance plan has its own list of approved medications and requirements for pre-authorizations, from everything from medications to procedures to hospitalizations. Medication formularies can change as often as every quarter. As a pediatrician, I'm often left to guess at what might be covered. A medication as formularies are usually available only in an obscure section of the company's website and usually presented in a PDF file with a long list of meds that must be scrolled through rather than a searchable database. In a busy day of seeing 30 patients, I simply can't take that time. You don't stink, but our current system does.
Well, I agree with that. And I will say this about healthcare. There is no one right answer about how to fix what ails healthcare in the United States, or for that matter, in other countries of the world as well.
And another one, we all love you, Clark, but I need to point out why you are both right and wrong about the healthcare market. You are correct that in theory, a pure market will deliver the best quality at the best price. Unfortunately, in the world today, a free market requires some resources to have cycles of scarcity, which is fine in some markets, but it is inhuman and cruel in the healthcare market. Another name for free market healthcare is out-of-pocket healthcare, where only those that have money for healthcare are able to get it. There are a few examples of this, such as Cambodia and rural India, but that is not the system that we want for people that live in the U.S. There are no examples of free market healthcare that have ever worked anywhere in the world, yet there are examples from all other industrialized countries that show a compassionate healthcare system that provides healthcare for all people can actually provide cheaper and higher quality healthcare than what we are experiencing right now. The U.S. stands alone. We are the only industrialized nation that allows people to go without coverage for healthcare expenses, creating a system where the top cause of bankruptcy is healthcare expenses and where many people go without and die due to a lack of coverage. Let's be human and take care of our fellow man and provide healthcare to everyone.
In Western democracies, as the poster referred to with government-provided healthcare, even in those systems, there has to be a relief valve. If you think about Canada, which has single payer, that actually has great satisfaction from Canadian citizens. At the same time, a lot of times Canadians cross the border into the United States for health care, or are even sent by their provincial governments, because each province runs the government-run healthcare system in the country rather than the entire nation of Canada. It's a provincial thing. They end up sending Canadian citizens across in the U.S. to get care that isn't available right now in Canada. There is no single one right answer for healthcare, but I think taking signals from the free market has to be part of how we would reform healthcare in this country. I can't see us going to a government-provided healthcare system in the U.S.
This one's titled Clark's Leather Jacket. Holy cow, Clark, I'm glad you mentioned you don't support dog and cat slavery. However, you forgot to mention leather is always a cruel and toxic industry. Animals are the last USA slaves. The only difference is that they also get eaten. I know you want to be like the fawns. However, the not mentioning of other animals stinks. Are cows and other animals not worthy of love and care? Food for thought.
I don't even know what to say about that. Do I ever wear leather?
Yeah, I think you got a leather coat at one of the warehouse clubs once you were excited about.
Huh.
You maybe shoes? Like
sorry?
Dress shoes, maybe?
Oh, yeah, my dress shoes would be leather. And so that would come from cows?
Yeah, usually.
Okay.
Maybe, as your pod said, cats and dogs, depending on, where you buy it. Okay, Clark, this mandatory retirement saving idea of yours stinks. Why does government have to be a part of your solution? What business is it of governments if, when, or how people retire? And don't tell me the idea is justified by the imminent failure of Social Security. I'm quite sure our ancestors figured out how to get by just fine before Social Security was implemented, just as modern day and future elderly citizens would do in the absence of a government program. The problems we are having with Social Security, whose FICA premium started out as 2% of income, has grown to 12.4% presently, and is all but guaranteed to keep climbing in the future, stem from little other than a mass addiction to government. And being that the government has made such a mess of the idea of retirement, I find it impossible to imagine that government is going to be a part of a constructive solution. I think we fix this problem by laying off the pain meds we're addicted to, not by trying to Hail Mary a new pharmaceutical recipe.
Okay, you know what's fascinating about what you're reviewing with us on Clark Stinks today? We had first posts that felt like I was being very anti-government with the health care. Now we have a post that feels that I'm advocating government interference in how people get retirement. And that's the thing that's so interesting today with the political prism that people see most every issue. Let me explain, if I could, for a minute, the thing with retirement. My fear is that with Americans not adequately saving for retirement, that there will come an intense pressure from the American people to increase the government's involvement in providing for retirement, increasing taxes to pay for Social Security, so that Social Security becomes the default pension plan of the United States. And that would crowd out funding for private enterprise, for formations of companies, for capital that is needed to bring inventions to market and all the rest. That's why I would like to kill two birds with one stone by having individuals be responsible for saving for their retirement. But because left to our own devices, we won't get that done, to require, just as we're required to pay into Social Security, instead we would be required to put 10% of our pay into our own retirement accounts that could not be touched until retirement age, so that we relieve that pressure that will come over the decades to have the government become even more confiscatory of our pay, and then in turn be sugar daddy paying money out to us for retirement.
All right, let's lighten it up.
Confiscatory.
Nice.
That was an unlikely
SAT
Clark word.
We're going to lighten it up. In a recent show I listened to as a podcast, Clark said LED bulbs have become so cheap we should replace every bulb in the house with LEDs. First, for someone like me who bought compact fluorescent when they got cheap, I actually got a bunch free from a utility company and have at least a 5-year supply. That's stinky advice. Second, the long hours touted for LEDs ain't necessarily so. My church has 25 to 30-foot ceilings. Us guys have to pull out pews and erect scaffolding to change bulbs, so we jumped on LED replacements, even at $25 to $30 a pop. Guess what? The ones we started replacing within the last 2 years, mind you, these lights have been on at most on the order of 2,000 hours, are burning out. And they do not fail gracefully. They do not just burn out. They come on, go off, come on, go off. It gives a whole new aspect to the sermon. And third, while I was once told 60 watts is the most common bulb, 60 watts just doesn't cut it for old eyes. I must have 100 watt equivalent, and those LED bulbs are not cheap.
Wow, that's a lot in there. So there are LED bulbs that have been made by maybe questionable manufacturers that are not getting the reliability that LEDs, by their very nature, should. If an LED bulb is properly manufactured, it should last for more than my remaining typical lifetime. I mean, the bulbs I'm putting in my house, if they were well made, will still be burning and I'll be gone. And that this is happening at the church would make me wonder about the quality of those bulbs.
Clark, you are not a stinky person. I value your expertise and dedicated community service, but this service is a smelly, rotten company that you need to stop acknowledging. I was very excited to try the Megabus for a low price of $25 one way from Atlanta to visit family in Chicago. I've always trusted your advice, and your free and cheap list reminded me of its unbeatable prices. I purchased my ticket and quickly regretted it after reading hundreds of horror stories that occurred this year about the company compromising people's safety by leaving in remote locations in the middle of the night due to mechanical problems, poor communication with extensive 3-hour-long delays, inadequate air conditioning, and endless examples of disappointing, rude customer service with a lack of business leadership. It was a leap of faith in you when I purchased the tickets without further research. Clark, please respond to this company's poor customer service. They are disrespectful with customers' precious time and don't have a sense of quality service. They also don't allow you to cancel your reservation. Thieves. So I lost my $25 and booked a Southwest $53 flight instead. Please do not encourage your loyal listeners to make the same mistake I did. And we have a resident Megabus expert here, Mr. Joel Larsgaard, right?
How many bad experiences have you had on Megabus?
So I haven't had bad experience with Megabus yet. I know when my mother-in-law's come over here on Megabus, she had an issue that held him up. I think a blown tire, and it took a while to fix. But I will say that the poster is right. I've read so many horror stories at this point. I would be a little more hesitant to take a Megabus trip. Unless I scored a super cheap deal.
Let me say this to both of you. I'm looking at Yelp right now for the reviews. They are so polarizing. They're either generally 5-star or 1-star. So apparently if the trip goes just as it's supposed to, people are like thrilled, they got their cheap fare, all that. But if anything goes wrong, apparently Megabus just falls apart in terms of how they handle the situation. I'm looking at some of these reviews. Well, I can't read some of these things on the air. Man! Whoa! Here's one that took a 4.5. I'm going to clean this one up. They took a 4.5 hour delay, and then in all caps. Anytime you write anything on the web and you do all caps, that means you're shouting "terrible" followed by 40 exclamation points, approximately. Yes, Kim?
My friend's mother took a Megabus, and someone threw up on the bus right before they left the station, and it wasn't cleaned up the entire trip.
Ooh.
Gross, right?
So, Kim, you got the last word on Megabus. Crystal, do we have time for one more?
Sure. This is something that Tony in Erlanger, Kentucky, wanted me to share with Clark in Clark Nation, it says. The T-shirt he saw recently was 10 years ago, we had Steve Jobs, Bob Hope, and Johnny Cash. Now we have no Jobs, no Hope, and no Cash. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. That's clever. I've not heard that before. I want to hear from you. All you do is you go to Clark.com, go to our community section. You'll see our message boards. Go to Clark Stinks, and let me know how I can serve you better. When you have a question for me on the Clark Howard Show, go to clarkhoward.com/ask. Joel, who do we have an Ask Clark from?
Clark Yodi wrote in, and she says, I'm 58. My son has maxed out his Roth IRA. He wants me to open one up, but with his money in it. He wants to fund it, but have the account in my name. So it's technically his money. Are there any potential problems with doing this?
Okay, so anybody can give anybody else up to $14,000 a year. Doesn't even have to be a relative for any purpose. So your son can give you the money. In your case, you're allowed to put $6,500 aside, and you can name him as your beneficiary. And at the time of your passing, the money would flow to him. But if you are living and he wants access to the money, first there's a matter of trust. Obviously, the relationship between the two of you could never be in writing, but you could say, this money is really yours. I understand that. And you could have it for that purpose. But while you're living, if you take money out, let's think this through, you could take money out and then you can give money to him in an amount up to $14,000 later. You have to leave the money in the account 5 years before it would be available to him. We're getting into a very goofy area here, but yes, you can do what you want, but it cannot have the force of law. Your son gives the money to you, hoping that ultimately it will be money to benefit him, but it cannot be explicitly, contractually, or legally money that you give to him later. That would be your choice and at your option. So, yeah, it's a roundabout way that you could essentially double Roth contributions, but it is not something that is normally recommended because at some point, some way, somehow, the system breaks down when you do something like that. And it's all about trust in each other.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show. You know what the goal will help you save more and spend less. And don't let anybody ever rip you off. Our web address, clark.com. When you got a question for me, clark.com/ask. So online shopping is so incredibly easy. And now a lot of people are doing the vast majority of online shopping on a phone. If you look at how Amazon presents itself on your phone, even on your desktop, it's all about one click. See an item, you click, you buy. And it's seamless. The problem is, the odds are you're overpaying. And not everything in life is about what something costs, but for me, what things cost is important. And convenience is the enemy of your wallet. There was a study done by 2 professors that found that there was an enormous price advantage to you taking the time to shop. And speaking of time, even not making instant decisions, even the same day decision, and give yourself time to look day after day. Now, occasionally, if you hem and haw, there's going to be a deal you miss. But all the websites are set up to trick you into feeling like there's a great sense of urgency and you must buy now. No one's worse about that than the travel industry. There's a particular website that I'll go do shopping for car rentals. And out of every 100 visits, how many do you think they say to me, cars are in very high demand at your location at this time. You should book now. Out of every 100 searches, that shows up 100 times. Every single time. As they try to create this sense that, gotta book now, gotta book now, gotta book now. And same with the shopping sites, gotta buy right now. So it is so clear from this study that was done of 500,000 shoppers, according to MarketWatch. Try to imagine digging deep with that level of data on 500,000 people and their shopping patterns. But without doubt, you will save money if you take your time before you click to buy. And not everybody's going to be patient like that. But know the tricks of the trade to get you to buy right then and there. And know the benefit that comes to you if you say, not so fast, and you shop around at multiple sites, and you shop around over multiple weeks, you're the one that keeps the money in your wallet. Christine is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Christine.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for taking my call.
It is my pleasure. You're trying to help out your daughter. Tell me about your daughter.
Yeah, she's 24 years old and a third-year veterinary student who really likes your show, by the way.
Thank you.
And she wants to establish credit in her own name. She's applied for a credit card from a local bank that she's done business with for 5 years, and she even requested like a $400 or $500 maximum card.
And let me guess, they turned her flat down.
You got it. I got the letter. Insufficient credit history. Even though she borrowed her first semester of vet school tuition, and with prior savings, summer jobs, she's reduced that $15,000 loan down to $8,000, and we really thought, isn't that a credit history?
Okay, so here's the problem. Being in school, she needs to apply this. Let me say, not the problem, the solution is she needs to apply for a student credit card.
Okay.
Of which there are many issuers. Are you a member of a credit union where you live?
Yes, sir.
Most credit unions have college student credit card programs.
Okay.
Where they know that college students ultimately end up being, on average, very low credit risk.
Okay.
Especially her getting a professional degree.
Yes.
And so she specifically applies for a college student card.
Okay.
And those, especially because she will show a file, those are routinely approved for college students.
Okay, something that we were kind of concerned about is that since they said we have to co-sign for that because we don't want to get into that.
You
either.
will not.
Okay.
Yeah, the college student programs are designed to allow her to stand on her own 2 feet credit-wise. And the irony is, as long as she's still in veterinary medicine school, it's easier for her to get a card than it will be when she graduates.
Interesting.
So all the major issuers also have college student credit card programs, but usually the easiest and best to get is the one from the credit union.
Well, why would the bank have turned her down? They even filed an appeal for her, and that doesn't seem to have gone anywhere.
I have no idea.
Okay. Okay.
And it may be that the bank doesn't have a college student credit card program.
Okay.
So they may have been judging her by traditional standards that she would not be able to meet.
Okay. Well, I know we do all of our banking at the credit union, so that makes perfect sense, and we'll definitely try that. And we really appreciate your advice on that, and I think it'll help out other people that listen to your show.
So is she intending to be a domestic animal vet or a farm animal vet?
She loves the farm animal stuff, but she's thinking about doing a poultry specialty also, like chickens.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, she kind of likes everything, and she's having to go with it,
Well, it can be a little smelly out there with the chickens, right?
And yeah, it can, and also with those cows too.
Oh. Better her than me. Marty's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Marty.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great, Clark. What an honor to talk to you.
Well, great to have you here. You have a shout out to your fellow listeners about a scam that almost happened to a family member. Is that right?
Yeah, last Sunday, my father-in-law, who's 85, called us all excited because there was a man at the door with $2,500 in cash, and that man wanted to buy his truck. The truck had not been for sale or anything like that, but the cash certainly had my father-in-law dazzled, and he was on the brink of going with it. So at least he called us, and he said, "What should I do?" So it really seemed a little bit shady to us, so we glanced online, and we saw that this truck is probably worth about $8,000. So we convinced him. It wasn't easy because the $2,500 cash basically had my father-in-law's mind basically shut down. He was just gaga. So we convinced him to get rid of the guy, but I just couldn't figure out what the scam might be. What do you think his angle was?
Well, don't you think it's enough scam that an $8,000 truck he buys from your father-in-law for $2,500?
I guess so. I guess it's as simple as that.
I mean, it really could be, because and that would not be a crime, believe it or not.
Wow.
Because that would be a willing seller selling a vehicle to a willing buyer, and if somebody was able to convince you to sell it for less than a third of what it's worth,
wow,
it would be scandalous, not a scam.
Wow.
But do you realize how lucky he is that he called you?
I'm grateful too, because I was furious. I was telling him, call the police. This guy probably has warrants on him. This thing just doesn't pass the smell test.
Well, what doesn't pass the smell test is trying to buy it for a fraction of the cost. And there may have been more going on, but that sounds like enough to me, enough of a ripoff just by that getting taken for $6,000. Kenny is with us. Hello, Kenny.
Hello, Clark.
How are you?
I'm great.
So, Kenny, you are somebody who's got the real savings habit in your head.
Yeah, I am a saver. I think I've been with the company for about 5 years now, and I've gotten to a point where I think I'm putting enough into a 401k that I need to maybe diversify with a company match that I get and what I'm putting in personally. I'm putting 20% of my income into a 401k.
20?
20, yes.
All right, so I got to know, was it a parent? Was it a relative? Where did you learn this idea about how important it is to, as they used to refer to it, pay yourself first?
Well, Clark, that would be you.
Really?
I remember as a little kid listening to your show with my dad and driving around and just kind of hearing some of these topics, not really knowing much about them, but it impressed on me enough to be a saver, and so that I have become.
Well, see, now you've let the secret out of the bag that I'm older than dirt. I've been on the air so long that people have had a chance to listen to me as a child and grow up and adopt some of the things you've heard from me as a kid.
Well, I'd say I'm not too old, so you're not aging yourself. So.
Okay. So I'm really excited you're saving so much. At your employer, the 401k you're in, what's the maximum % of your pay you can put in?
It's not limited, I don't think, by the maximum percentage. It's in a maximum
dollars,
dollar amount, percentage of my overall income.
All right. So if your employer 401k is with one of the El Cheapo companies I talk about,
right?
If you're with Vanguard, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Schwab, you're with somebody like that for a 401k, there wouldn't be any harm in you, instead of saving money elsewhere, increasing the amount there. But there's a benefit because yours is a traditional 401k, is it not? Not a 401k Roth?
Correct. It's a traditional 401k.
The advantage would go to you, even if your 401k is with one of the lower cost providers. With your discipline, it would be to your advantage to do any additional money you put aside in a Roth IRA, so you have a pre-tax pile of retirement money and a tax-free pile of retirement money, which would be the Roth IRA.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking, but unfortunately I'm not with one of those discount groups.
All right, so that would mean put in as much money as you have to get the full employer match in the 401k.
Right.
And then money you have been putting in there, instead divert it into your Roth IRA that you do with one of the low-cost outfits.
Mm-hmm.
And your money will grow more efficiently by being with a low-cost provider instead of a higher-cost plan.
Right.
So that would be what I would do. If you want to save more, use the Roth. And if you want to reduce your costs, save to the max in the Roth, reducing what you do in the 401k, but never below what will trigger the maximum match from your employer.
Correct. Now, I also was interested possibly in getting some fee-based or fee-only, type advice on, setting it up. Maybe I should just take it simple and go with a target-based fund when I do open the Roth.
100%.
Okay.
Just go to Vanguard or whoever and do the target retirement fund appropriate for your age. Just put all the money in there. Let them figure out what the mix should be over the years. You keep it simple and you keep your costs to near zero for having the account. And congratulations to you, whether you heard it from whoever. You gave me credit, but whatever, you took the lesson and you're changing your future. Lauren is with us. Hello, Lauren. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks. How are you, Clark?
Great, thank you. But you've got a situation that doesn't feel so good. Tell me.
I am 20, and my dad bought me a brand new Ford Focus for my 17th birthday, and it's an awesome car, and I really appreciate it, but it's proving to be a really bad financial decision. The payment is just over $350, and that is really putting a strain on my parents' financial situation.
Oh, so they're paying for it. They've been paying for it for the last 3 years.
Yes.
Wow. And how many year note does the Focus have? Is it a 5-year note?
This is a 72-month term.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's exactly what I was not a part of that decision-making process, and had I been, I would have steered my parents far away, but yes.
So wait, you take 72 months times $350 a month. We got big money here.
Yes, the amount that they financed was just over, actually, $22,000.
But what the sum total is over 72 months is a fair amount more than that.
Right.
What's the interest rate they got?
It's 4.9.
Which is a reasonable rate on a 72-month loan. Wow. So
yes.
I'm wrong. That's like $25,000 total. And are you a full-time student or are you working?
I am neither of those. I am hoping to start some full-time work soon, and I am hoping to go back to school. I did maybe about 2 years of school, and I'm trying to finance the rest of my school without debt. And I currently have about $5,000 of debt, so it's not too bad, but I don't want any more. But at the same time, my parents are struggling. I don't think they have enough retirement savings. I really don't.
So, I mean, the truth is you're the one who's going to have to do the sacrifice.
Right.
You're the one who's going to have to step up here. And it's not going to be any fun at all, any possibilities we talk about here. But you're the one who's going to have to take over those payments. I mean, $350 a month would not be an enormous number of part-time hours on your part. And so I think if you have to take a part-time job, and dare I say it, you said you don't want to graduate with any student loan debt, but you might even need to take out some student loan debt and use the money to keep the car payment current.
Okay, I wasn't considering that. I was also considering selling the car. The payoff amount is just under the valuation of the car.
But then what are you going to drive?
I would have to share the cars that my parents already have, which would possibly be tight, but
if you're going to be working full time, the car becomes key unless you live in an area with good public transit.
That's right.
I think it would be a mistake to bail out of the car. It would be almost like you were in a 3-year lease.
Right, that's right.
And then you have no wheels. And depending on, playing hopscotch with the cars that exist, I'd rather see you take on the financial burden for your parents.
Okay.
It will teach you financial discipline that will pay back dividends so much greater than that $350 a month. And I think it would be well worth it on multiple levels. And good luck to you. And most important, Lauren, I hope your parents' financial situation, the pressures they're under, ease.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One, right after this.
When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson. The state of Florida is investigating a new case of Zika outside a Miami neighborhood where mosquitoes have infected more than 24 other people. Philanda Batista, who is pregnant and at risk of damage to her unborn child, says she's doing what she can to protect herself.
You always have to take cover because you got to protect the unborn child that is helpless.
Another woman, Demarius Juraville, who lives near the Zika zone, told WSVN she's glad to hear another zone has been cleared by the health department.
That's good. We can come back outside and get back to life. Regularly scheduled programming.
Dr. Vivek Murthy is telling women it's important for them to take precautions against Zika.
It means making sure you're wearing repellent. It means making sure that you're getting rid of stagnant water around your home.
And the doctor says keep yourself covered, especially your arms and legs. AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.